The word narcissist has become the internet's favorite diagnosis. We use it for exes, for politicians, for anyone who posts too many selfies. And in doing that, we've made it almost impossible to understand what it actually is. The internal mechanics of a narcissistic personality operate on a logic that feels alien to most of us, and remarkably tragic. If you've ever loved someone who has it, you know that no label ever captured what that actually felt like. This video is for the people who are still trying to make sense of it, moving past the viral buzzwords to examine the clinical structure of this disorder offers a framework for those trying to rebuild their sense of reality. The official psychiatric definition in the DSM-5 provides a look at the specific architecture of the disorder. This architecture creates a person who is often charming and highly insightful about the flaws of others, while remaining protected by a psychological firewall that blocks any meaningful self-reflection. This manifests on a dual spectrum. On one end is the grandiose narcissist, the boastful braggart. On the other is the vulnerable narcissist, the perpetually victimized martyr. Despite their opposite outward behaviors, both types are running the exact same core operating system. They share a total inability to regulate self-esteem internally, which leaves them completely reliant on a constant external supply to maintain a sense of self. Narcissistic personality disorder is a structural deficit that forces an individual to use other human beings as emotional life support. This structure begins with a small child who internalized a devastating lesson. Love is entirely conditional on performance and on being special. The resulting narcissistic defense is a layer of armor constructed to protect a fragile self that never felt safe enough to simply be ordinary. Acknowledging this childhood wound does not excuse the abusive adult behavior it produces. However, understanding the origin reveals why the behavior is so rigid and why it remains impervious to healthy human feedback. Because this structure was forged as a childhood survival mechanism, the adult narcissist treats vulnerability as a lethal threat rather than an invitation to connect. For the partner, this creates a disorienting trap that begins with the dizzying, overwhelming high of the idealization phase. That high is followed by the sharp drop into devaluation. The cycle concludes with the cold reality of the discard, a sudden, total cutoff. This intermittent reinforcement pattern, with its hot and cold rhythm, keeps a partner in constant uncertainty. The neurochemical trap it creates in the brain directly mirrors the biology of addiction. The resulting cognitive dissonance causes the brain to endlessly hope, explain, and try to resuscitate the version of the person encountered during the idealization phase. If something in this video is landing in a way that feels personal, I'm glad you found it. Stay with me through the end. And subscribe to Growth Systems Daily if this is the understanding you've been looking for. The clinical reality is that a fundamental personality structure cannot be altered or fixed by someone else's love. No amount of empathy or self-sacrifice can rewire armor that was forged decades ago. The only viable path forward is to shift your focus away from the narcissist and toward your own recovery. You have the power to change your relationship with your own reality and relearn how to trust your own perceptions. To anchor yourself against gaslighting, you can use a practice called the Perception Journal. Each day, write 3 sentences: what I observed, what I felt, and what I was told about what I observed or felt. This disorder creates a person who cannot afford to see you as a fully real individual, because to do so, they would have to confront their own ordinariness. And for them, ordinary is the one thing they can never be.